Ladies and gents, welcome back to another Engineers podcast. Today I'm joined by Sam Party and Alex Salazar, who are co founders of Arcade. They've had some serious growth and features in the last 3 months since pulling the covers off, and we're going to do a little bit of that today. It's a powerful AI platform that helps developers who are building agents authenticate into different systems like Gmail, Slack, and GitHub. There's a killer team that's on board, and we're going to be breaking down a little bit more about what they've been building over the last few months. We've been going for a year, and we're going to be talking all about that. Chaps, thanks for coming to join.
Pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for
Pleasure
having
to be
us.
here.
Sam, let's go first with you. Give us a bit of insight into your background.
Well, I am a purebred nerd. I started in high performance computing. I was fascinated. I was 16 or so, and I just became a cluster monkey, started hooking up SBC boards together. My whole dream was to have the largest computer at my disposal that I could, and ended up at Cray. And you snowball. I ended up on a distributed training team, worked a little bit on computational simulations. That led to AI. AI needed HPC. HPC needed AI to basically continue to exist. And found myself in the space we all know is growing rapidly today, which is AI, and became the head of the AI unit at Redis, and then met my friend over here, Alex Salazar, started Arcade.
Love it. Alex, jump on him.
Oh man, what about me? So I'm a mutt. Um, I started off as a software engineer a long time ago. Completely stumbled into enterprise sales of all things. Loved both jobs. Um, uh, Went to business school. Ended up starting my first software company in the authentication space. Ran that for a number of years. It was a developer API. Sold that to Okta. Was at Okta for a number of years, leading the product organization for the developer products. And then I did venture capital to round out the experience, and then met Sam, and the rest is history.
I love the mix between AI, authentication, both in founder mode now. We're going to be talking all about Arcade and what you guys do and how you actually marry the both up. Give us a bit of insight into Arcade, the problem space that you see it in today, which you've been talking about offline, and what you've built.
Yeah. Well, I like to talk in narratives a little bit because it contextualizes everything. So I'll start at the beginning of how we even got here. Sam and I decided we wanted to start an agent company, and we were very excited by what agents can do. And so we decided to build an agent to do site reliability. There's an alert off of a service, and our agent at the time, I think we'd codenamed it Darkstar, was going to go and diagnose the alert and tell you what was wrong. And if it found the code issue, it'd go and remediate and issue a pull request, something like that. And man, we could not get the fucking thing working.
And get it working.
And we couldn't get it working. It was so hard. And part of the problem was just the tools available to us just weren't good enough for what we were trying to build at the time. And so Sam and I at one point just stopped and took a step back, and we were like, you know what? Like, let's think about it as if we're building it 24 months from now. Like, what would be different? What tools would be available? What would the prices for all the different things be? Let's build for that future versus where we are today. And in thinking through that thought exercise, it gave us room to kind of step out of the consensus of how agents were being built and how people were working with large language models. And then that led to Sam having like a pretty big technical breakthrough on how our agent was going to be talking to all the downstream systems we needed, the Linux servers, the Grafana system, Datadog, etc. And we got it working, and man, it was black magic. It was incredible. And when we showed it to people trying to get design partners for that product, people were ho hum on the agent itself, which was itself like fascinating. Like, people
Nobody
are like,
was.
"Oh, that's kind of cool," and we're like, "Dude, what you? This is nuts." But anyone who understood AI was floored by how our agent was communicating with other services
Look
and
And
at
we
what
how it
got
was
you've
that
done,
communicating.
we got that
Sam.
feedback all the time. How did you connect to Datadog? How are you connecting to Prometheus? This connects to my Google account? How? And it was something that took about, I don't know, 80 customer interviews to actually suss out, which is honestly a little bit embarrassing that it took us that long. But uh, we really thought that this SRE agent was just the coolest thing since sliced bread. But really, everybody kept asking us, how are you pulling that data and taking those actions as me? And we realized, oh, today there's not a great amount of infrastructure for people to be able to develop agents that not only act for you, but also as you.
Yeah. I think understanding the story and understanding more about the problem space, seeing the demo that's actually live on LinkedIn of actually moving us through the integration makes so much sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so once we finally heard what everybody was saying to us, we decided to just dump everything else and just start showing people, what we now call tool calling platform, where auth is the backbone of that product. And once we started showing people that, everything took off.
It is interesting the connection between agents and tools and auth. That was the realization that Alex mentioned earlier. It's the moment that an agent wants to reach out and do something. That was the blocker. The blocker was agents when they wanted to go out and perform an action, right? You saw lots of get weather tools. You saw lots of almost every single demo, right? Get weather for dual calling. That doesn't do anything. It retrieves context. It doesn't do something. And in order to do most actions on the internet, you need to log in. And so providing a methodology for developers to actually make their agents perform authenticated actions, that was really what we realized, oh, we did that kind of by accident in some ways.
And I think the thing that's been most fun as we've been talking to people is, um, we consistently get to blow people's mind in live demos on customer calls. Everybody comes in and they've got a preconceived notion of what agent they want to build is, and it's almost always like, some rinky dink chatbot that at best has a vector based RAG system. um, that just retrieves data, and they're gonna, and you've seen a million of these, right? Like the support bots, you go on websites and you ask it questions, and the best you're gonna get is like a regurgitation of the knowledge base. And we get on these calls, and then we show them like what the new art of the possible, and you can
This
watch
file's
it.
a Zendesk ticket.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
they just run
why don't
away.
we have the agent like pull up the end user's like account and tell you where the package is in the flow, or let's go create a Zendesk ticket. Uh, you know, and when we show people the new art of the possible, you can watch their heads explode on the calls,
Yeah,
and
I
then
can
they're
only imagine.
completely rethinking what the agent that they had in mind was going to do. And most importantly, they start to step away from the concept that it has to be this very basic chatbot that just does retrieval. It can go do things and take actions and automate workflows.
I genuinely think with some of the integrations and some of the tools that you can actually unlock now using Arcade, you can unlock so many possibilities about what you can actually start calling agents to do. Was that black magic difficult to try and break down and build, Sam?
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
Auth alone, anybody who goes into auth, there's a reason why every developer buys an auth solution, right? Everybody who builds a website, do you go and roll your own. No, you don't. And so that alone, and then marrying that with the field moving at the pace of AI, right? Trying to integrate it into frameworks like LangGraph or Llama Index or what have you, and trying to keep pace with those as well as provide developers who are rolling their own system a methodology to do so. It's a moving target combined with an already difficult field. And so to do so in a performant way that enterprises are actually going to deploy, which is one thing this field is sadly mostly ignored, uh, very difficult.
Yeah. And you've struck up some really good partnerships already.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you talk alone about our relationship with LangGraph. So far, we've got a ton of users that really love the marriage of the two. We've had a ton of apps released online. Agent Inbox, that one got really popular. The social media apps have been absolutely blowing up. People using agents to passively, we call them, I think, ambient agents is what they've been referred to as, manage your social media. I think LangChain has this running consistently now for posting most of their social media, and I find that really cool.
Yeah. Langchain referenced you guys. And what I do want to try and do is trying to actually break down the hard parts of calling tools, handling authentication. I want to actually try and understand Arcade's impact in this flow. And Sam, you're going to break this down for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just think about this. If you have an agent, let's call that a human, okay? And it's the agent is you have a brain, that's the LLM, and you have hands, those are the tools. Well, the moment the hands reach out and do something, right, as that human being, um, you need it to be able in that instance, let's say it's Google, to perform that action as that person. And so, in the case of something like Agent Inbox, right? When you have a tool that's 5 abstractions deep below the client application in which the user's actually using, where most authentication services sit, something like Auth0 that Alex is all too familiar with, um, then it's really hard to get that information in that flow, that OAuth flow, to be started at that level and to propagate it back through the levels, the tool to the agent, to the app, to the client application, to the front end, and then to the user, and then all the way back to that tool. That traversal is very difficult, unless you have something that takes care of it for you.
Yeah, 100%. Especially at an enterprise level as well, Alex, which I want to touch on. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, great segue. Like, one of the things that made this really difficult as well when we were first building it is we had to hold two personas in mind at the same exact time. We had to keep the developer, who wants to move fast, wants fast time to value, wants something that's going to be easy to use. They're probably going to start with a web service because that's the easiest thing. But the enterprise, when it comes to AI, they want everything deployed in their own VPCs that they can manage and they can host, right? Like, uh, the world of multi-tenant cloud service is just not is not we're not hearing openness to it from enterprises for their AI environments. And so we had to figure out, how do you build both at the same time? And that was one of the bigger major challenges we ran into in the early
Interesting.
days.
That's really interesting. Do you see stark differences between building AI in enterprise, building AI startups, leaner businesses? Sam's got a huge nod going on.
Oh, well, I mean, the amount of vanilla rag implementations that I built out when I was at Redis, like the 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 difference between the demo environment and the enterprise environment. I mean, look, a lot of people can go and put something up on Vercel and then use Supabase and never deploy anything themselves, right? I mean, look, that you can scale to your heart's content and have a great time. An enterprise is never going to give their Google long-lived tokens to a serverless cloud service. Like, a Fortune 500 bank is not going to give their Google Docs detailing their various programs and really sensitive details to that kind of service. They're going to run it on-prem. They're going to run it, when I say on-prem, I mean in their VPC. And that has maintained, and I'd say even accelerated when it comes to AI. And I'll take a gamble here and say that's most likely because there's a little bit of uncertainty around how the AI is going to use that data, and making sure that you keep it inside your VPC makes you feel a little bit better about how that AI is going to be using it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been really funny. I mean, there's like a really hard dividing line at around 100 employees where under 100 employees, this stuff never comes out. They want to see how easy it's going to be, how quickly they can deploy. They want to see the developer experience, and they want to check off the box in the use case. Over 100 employees, man, we'll be halfway through the call, and like clockwork, they'll ask the question of, so like,
Can this deploy
where's all this data being stored? And like we see the question coming a mile away, and we're like, no, we deploy wherever you want. And then you can see everyone on the call, like their shoulders just drop. They're like, oh,
because now they don't have to say no. Now
Yeah,
they you can feel the animosity go, oh, okay, all right, well, now we can be
great. Let's bring it in.
interested.
Let's bring it in. Alex, I'm going to come to you. I want to try and understand your thoughts around how we go from this place of AI promise to return on investment. I'm hearing this a lot around this can do great stuff for us. I want to take us to business ROI or individual ROI even.
yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, I think it you read about it. People are writing about it a lot right now about how much people are struggling to get ROI out of their agents. We hear it on calls, right? Agent projects like either aren't going to production, or if they are, they're kind of ho hum. And I think there's like, from my perspective, there's two reasons for it. One of them is it has historically been just way too difficult to build something meaningful, but that's getting a lot easier, right? And we hope and believe that what we're doing is going to really help lower the bar, making an agent, uh, successful and going to prod. That's actually one of our big mission statements: is we want to get more agents into prod. The other reason is that most people's, and we mentioned this earlier, most people's visions of an agent are a simple chatbot that is just giving you life advice and just generating text for you. And again, the most sophisticated of those is maybe like doing retrieval and accessing data from other sources to just generate better text for you. It's hard to generate ROI from a system like that. There just aren't a ton of high ROI use cases for that. The majority of software in the world is workflow automation. And so my belief is that where the true ROI of agents is going to be is in agents automating workflows. And there's a whole category of workflows for which traditional software was not capable of automating and solving for, that agents and large language models specifically are now tailor made to do that. And so that's where I think a lot of the ROI comes in, and that's where a lot of our focus is enabling AI to go integrate to APIs, data systems, any kind of logic or other systems that you might want to enable that AI to go automate workflows.
I'm quite a visual person. You're drawing pictures in my mind. You don't know that you're doing that, Alex, but you're drawing pictures in my mind. And workflows is something that I hear come up a lot, that I see as a big problem in AI. And with my little image in my mind, you're solving that. You're solving that problem. And I definitely think that there is an acceleration of tooling in the AI space at the moment, last couple of months, that's really accelerating companies to be a lot more AI native as well. And I think Arcade, what they're building, is spot on for this.
Well, thank you.
It's funny,
Knock on wood.
yeah,
Yeah,
it didn't become as obvious until a lot of other things came out that are kind of a little bit in the same vein, I'd say. Once there's a lot more people in the space, it becomes easier to talk about. Alex mentioned earlier, 6 months ago, you say tool, people are thinking a totally different thing. Today, you say tool in the space of AI becomes much more obvious. And so I think you're totally right. It's skating to where the puck is going.
100%. Where do you think the engineering challenges will be in 3 6 months time? That's even hard to place bets on, honestly, because of where we've come from in the last 3 months, where you've been in November as an example. But where do you think they might be?
Well, that's a great question. A lot of people don't remember the early days of the agent frameworks, um, back when it really wasn't about tool calling, it's more about moving prompts around, and munching through prompts. Um, and there was a similar kind of what I'll call craze back then as well. Um, and people quickly learned that it's a lot more about software, maintaining software, putting software into prod, having the right practices in place. And I think we're going to see a very similar thing here. That's why we're really hyper focused on that aspect of it, making sure that the software we put out is maintainable, usable, um, reliable. Um, I want to be able to have an agent that has a 3 nines uptime. That sounds crazy, right? That sounds crazy, but that's what I want. That's the goal here. And so I think, um, in some ways, it's a difference of mindset to think about how do I transition this traditional software engineering mindset into a large language model engineering mindset or an agents engineering mindset and bring the principles, but also adapt to the new parts of it.
Yeah, you touched on some points, security, reliability, scalability, availability. Like taking those principles from where we've been the last 10, 20 years into this new age and probably figuring out how you actually do that with your AI agents. I'll let you two solve that problem, not me.
Well, I definitely think it's one of the major challenges right now, especially with the way that even just large language model APIs. I mean, if you go look at even the best of providers like OpenAI, I think they've got 98 or something percent uptime. Just to use that one example. Um, so it is a challenge, even when you're the best of the best.
Yeah, 100%. Um, Talk to us a little bit about where you think the AI space might be. Let's move away from engineering challenges, where it might be in 3 to 6 months. Placing any further bets, we're shooting in the stars at the moment.
You want to go first?
Oh my God. I'm trying to think of how to even structure the answer to that. Yeah. Okay. So where's AI going to be in 3 to 6 months? Um, I think everything is so all the models are going to get more powerful. Everything's going to get cheaper. Um, and that's going to mean that the universe of what can be built is going to expand. It's going to continue expanding, right? Um, and what's also going to happen in parallel, and we're already seeing it, is more and more teams, more and more organizations are going to start getting more and more comfortable and conversant in what an agent could do for them. Now, I'm already blown away by how many organizations are already actively investing in agents this early, but I think those investments are going to go up. you're going to start seeing a lot more stuff hitting production. As more organizations put things in prod, it's going to create more competitive pressure for other organizations to put more things in prod. And so I think everything's just going to ratchet up. Like I think it's going to compound.
I'll take
Yeah, take the mental.
well, I mean, building on it. Um I think we're going to see a shift at some point. I think a lot of people in this kind of question would say something like, "Oh, well, we're going to see more multimodal, or we're going to see more, different um, like uses of like vector. That we're going to go to 1-bit models or what have you." I'll take a a very non AI stance and say that we're going to see a shift of focus back towards building the right software. um, and what I mean by that is hooking up your tools to something like Datadog, making sure that they're highly available. Like, I'm just going to keep harping on that point, um, because m- right now there's a lot of emphasis on building new products for what already works pretty well. And I think the there's a big emphasis on changing a lot of the aspects to fit agents in places that I think it's not necessarily deserved. There are absolutely places where it's deserved. I think authentication is one that simply cannot be done in the same way it was before because there's a new player in the system. There's an agent, right? There's another entity in the flow. Um, but I
And one
think
that can't be
there's
trusted.
yeah, and how do you even define that level of trust, right? And so there's a ton of new aspects, and I think there's a ton of new growth that's going to happen in the space because of that. But I do think that we're going to see a lot of people shift back towards thinking about how do I make sure this stays up and maintain it.
Ooh, can I take one more bite at the apple on this? Because now so
Jump
one of
in.
the things I think we're going to see, I think I think every category of software that was big in the SaaS cloud days is effectively going to get reinvented in the AI space, and it won't be in large part by the same vendors because it's going to have to be really different software. Um, you know, I think Microsoft said something to this effect. I probably won't be as definitive on what it'll look like, but you're already starting to see agents coming up that their very existence kind of undermines the value proposition of a traditional SaaS system.
Well, the UI, what's the new
The,
UI?
yeah, the UI
Systems of
being most.
record, will they become just one chat? I mean, you might just call it on your cell phone. And so I think that's a great point, is that there might be totally new interfaces to products we use every day.
Yeah. So if the learning curve for something like Salesforce is pretty dramatic. There's an agent that is a CRM. There is no interface to learn. It's all intent based. This is the thing I think people don't fully appreciate about the power of agents is, especially the ones where there's human chat based. It's capturing your intent. That no one's ever done that other than Google.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so And so if you're doing that as part of your enterprise business system, that radically changes the user interface expectations.
yeah. That is a really good point. We've got a couple of things there. Um, Cheaper AI, it's going to compound, and there's more adoption. Sam focusing on fundamentals of software engineering and maybe not getting carried away with the next 3 to 6 months and actually focusing on improving what we already have, and almost like a paradigm shift for some businesses over the next 6 to 12 months, especially enterprise level SaaS players. Like, there is going to be a shift.
Where? I have no idea.
Neither
I
do I.
won't pretend to know. I'm not Nostradamus, but I will say that Alex's point is absolutely right. There is going to be some type of shift, and it is not going to be what we have today. That's for sure.
No, I agree. I agree. Lastly, I want to try and understand for people listening where you're building and growing the team. If people are listening, they love what they hear and they're like, oh my God, if I'm not using Arcade, I want to join Arcade. Help us understand what you might be hiring for.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, look, get involved in open source. We've got a lot of open source. The best ways to go on github.com/arcadeai, get involved there. That's the best way to get noticed by our team. If you're into Python or Go or JavaScript, TypeScript, we've got a lot of libraries that you can contribute to, and that's a great way to get noticed by our eng team.
Love that.
Yeah, the only place I'll plug is, developer relations is close to our heart, and so similarly, get active, talk about us, write about us, and you know, and we'll see if there's like alignment and fit.
If you love making YouTube videos, hit us
There you
up.
go. I was going to say, DevRel, they're going to take your job, both of you. I see you on LinkedIn constantly at the moment.
I hope so. I hope they take our
Yeah.
job. This is hard work.
Yeah.
Hard
No,
work.
don't do that. Don't do that. You two have been legends. I know that you're going to go far and absolutely smash this. And I think you found a great piece in the market. You stumbled across it, but that's how the best ideas come. And I genuinely think Arcade Engine and what you guys have brought to the market will be game changers. And people need these tools in their life. So for people listening, go and get involved in the open source stuff and start plugging away and helping the team get a download or a demo going and looking at what they're doing. And all the likes, shares, subscribership that keeps this little ecosystem going around, make sure you do that. And Alex, Sam, again, massive thanks.
You're a legend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elliot.
Thanks, guys. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Engineers is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found at Engineers.io. It's no underscore. We've also got a website, which is Enginears.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.